Okay children, now we are seeing about the fertilization, the process of that is the fusion of male and female gametes resulting in the formation of zygote. It is called as fertilization, you know it. So in the process of fertilization, what happens? It results in the formation of zygote. So the entire process of fertilization and the formation of zygote is known as sexual reproduction. So that is called as sexual reproduction, in which it involves both the male and fusion of both male and female gametes. So it is called as sexual reproduction. We can also define the sexual reproduction in the manner that the production of offsprings or baby plants from the zygote. It is called as sexual reproduction. Whereas asexual reproduction is means where there are no fusion of male and female gametes, and it involves all other parts, that is the production of baby plants from the other parts like stem, root, so that is leaves, all the other parts of the plant involves except the flower. That is called as asexual reproduction, where the sexual parts are not involved in the formation of the new plant. So that is called as asexual reproduction. So you know about the sexual reproduction. We can explain it in the form of pre-charm. Okay. What is sexual reproduction? I already explained you this. Once again we will recall it so that it makes a complete revision of the lesson. It involves male part, that is male gamete, and female part, that is female gamete. Both the fusion of male and female gametes result in the formation of zygote. From the zygote, it develops the embryo, which forms into the seed, and seed gives rise to the new plant. Hope it's not visible, so I'll be reducing it. Zygote gives rise to seed, and seed gives rise to the new plant. Hope it is visible, children, now for you. So this is about the sexual reproduction. Okay, and asexual reproduction I have already explained you, which involves the vegetative parts, correlation, and the budding process, isn't it? Asexual reproduction, it involves the vegetative propagation of new plants, vegetative propagation of new plants, that is vegetative reproduction. Other one is budding process, and the last one is correlation, which involves the formation of spores. Okay, in vegetative propagation of new plants are propagated either through stem, root, or leaves. Root, stem, or leaves. Is it clear? So root examples: carrot, beetroot, radish, turnip, etc. Stem comes to the sugarcane. Vegetative propagation through the stem. Sugarcane, potato, especially the eyes of potato when it is really removed and placed along with the that is sowed along with the stem. It is about the potato, that is stem. Vegetative propagation through root, stem, and leaves. Once again, here if I write, it will be visible, I hope so. Root, stem, and leaves. Okay, roots here, see here, carrot, examples are must, beetroot, radish. And others, you know it well. At least 2 or 3 examples you should write for the tree chart. Potato, sugarcane, turmeric. So the edible parts that we eat and they grow through the stems itself. And the other one that is leaves. Chrysanthemum also is through the stem. The leaves it is begonia and bryophyllum. I have already explained you about them. Where the new plants arises from the leaf notches, bryophyllum. Leaf notches, the small bud arises at each leaf notch and they fall down when they are matured, and each bud gives rise to the new plant that is developed from the notch of the leaf. Okay, children. So this is about the vegetative propagation through the leaves. Okay. So these are the leaves that arise, small bud that arises at the leaf notches. This falls down on the ground under the favorable conditions. It gives rise to the new plant. And the budding process involves the yeast. I told you it's the best example where the small buds arises over the parent plant, and it detaches itself from the parent and leads an independent life under the favorable conditions. And the sporulation, that is a bread mold, is the best example where it contains under the moist conditions of bread develops a mold over it. So bread mold is the best example for the formation of spores, that is the molds or the spores that are developed over the bread. Through the spores they gives rise to the new plant that is called the molds develop over it. So these are the molds that develop by the formation of spores. So this is sporangium, sporangiophore, and spores are developed inside. Each spore gives rise to the new mold again. Okay, they develop over the bread. So bread mold is the best example for the formation of spores. Molds are developed by the formation of spores over the bread under the moist conditions. So this is complete lesson. We have completed this lesson of sexual and asexual reproduction in plants. Okay, so with this we have completed the reproduction in the plants. In the next class, I'll take up the variant, that is the new lesson about the seed dispersal, where the formation of the seeds after in the sexual reproduction, so how they are dispersed from one place to other place through the agents of dispersal, as you know well. Okay, as now come to answer, we will answer the questions that are given below in your textbook. See the questions, children. First question mainly being, do all flowers have the same parts? Is it clear that all parts have the same parts? All flowers? No, we cannot say that all flowers have the same parts, isn't it? Some are have they are unisexual flowers and some are bisexual flowers, as you know well. Unisexual flowers contains either androecium or gynoecium, isn't it? So that is the pistil. Gynoecium is also called as pistil or corpel. For example, in cucumber, bottle gourd, bitter gourd are the best examples for unisexual flowers. So the question is whether all the flowers have the same parts. All flowers do not have same parts because some are unisexual and some are bisexual. You know, the flowers are divided into complete flowers, incomplete flowers, unisexual and bisexual flowers. Okay, unisexual flowers are cucumber, bottle gourd and bitter gourd are the examples. Bisexual flowers are epomia, hibiscus and datura are the examples for the bisexual flowers. Next, coming to the differences between the bisexual flowers and unisexual flowers. What are the differences between the unisexual and bisexual flowers? How to write this answer? unisexual and bisexual flowers. Unisexual flowers, a flower with only one sexual part, that is a flower that has either stamen or pistil. Unisexual flower, and the other is bisexual flower. If a flower contains either androecium, that is male part, either androecium, that is male part, or gynoecium, that is female part, then it is called as unisexual flower. A flower which contains both androecium and gynoecium, then it is called as bisexual flower. So, unisexual flower examples are cucumber, bottle gourd, bitter gourd, papaya, and all are unisexual flowers. Bisexual flowers examples are datura. I showed you this. If you observe the hibiscus in your surroundings, you can see the both androecium and gynoecium present in it. And epomia is also a best example for bisexual flower. Next, coming to the complete and incomplete flower. So, in the same manner, a flower which contains all the four folds, it is called as a complete flower. So, the differences between the complete flower and incomplete flower. So what are the differences between complete flower and incomplete flower? A flower which contains all the four folds, in it. Then it is called as a complete flower. What are the four folds? They are calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. So if a flower contains all these four parts, then we can say that it is a complete flower. A flower in which any one of the four folds is missing. A flower in which any one of the four folds is missing, then it is called as an incomplete flower. So incomplete flower examples are bottle gourd, bitter gourd, cucumber. So these are the incomplete flowers. Papaya, they belong to incomplete flowers. Okay, so complete flowers are examples, well. That is bisexual flowers or the complete flowers. That is datura. Complete flowers examples also you can easily write. Datura, hibiscus, epomia. These are the complete flowers. Okay, now we'll see about the male flower and female flower. A flower with male reproductive part is a male flower. Male reproductive part is androecium, that is stamens. Stamen consists of filament and anther. Anther consists of pollen grains, and the pollen grains are held for the fusion, that is the male part. When they fuse with the female gametes, that is a female flower consists of female reproductive part, which consists of ovary, style and stigma, that is called as the pistil. Okay, gynoecium. So this is called as gynoecium. You should be familiar with these terms, androecium and gynoecium. Androecium is a male reproductive part Gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower. So a flower with the male reproductive part, androecium, is called as a male flower, and a flower with the female reproductive part, that is gynoecium, is called as female flower. The male flower consists of the stamens and the female flower consists of ovary, style and stigma. Ovary, style and stigma. So these are the parts of the male flower and female flower. I already discussed you about the sexual and asexual reproduction. If there are the differences between the sexual and asexual reproduction, you can say that the production of offsprings or the baby plant from the zygote is called as the sexual reproduction, and it involves the fusion of male and female gametes resulting in the formation of zygote, which involves the formation of the new plant. Whereas the sexual reproduction, for the fusion of that is the formation of the new plant without the sexual parts, that is without the male and female parts, that is the flower does not involve in the formation of the new plants, that is called asexual reproduction. It involves budding or spore formation or vegetative propagation of the new plants, that is called as asexual reproduction. Next, self-pollination and cross-pollination. I have already shown you about the self-pollination and cross-pollination. What is self-pollination? Transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma of the same flower, then it is called as self-pollination. Transfer of pollen grains from anther to stigma from anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower, then it is called the cross-pollination. So this is about self-pollination and cross-pollination. So what happens to the pollen grain when it falls over the stigma? In today's class you have seen that is when pollen grain falls over the stigma, it develops a pollen tube, that is the pollen grain attaches itself to the sticky substance present on the stigma and develops a pollen tube and pierces through the style, reaches the ovary and fuses with the female gamete over here. So this is about the and results in the formation of zygote called as fertilization. The entire process of formation of zygote is called as the fertilization. So this is in turn it develops into the embryo which gives rise to the baby plant seed and the baby plant. So this is about the sexual reproduction in plants. So that is our next question. Explain sexual reproduction in plants. You can easily explain by explaining this. And can plants produce the new plants even without seeds? Yes. You know, asexual reproduction is a process where the plants are produced without the involvement of the seeds. You have to explain completely about the asexual reproduction through vegetative propagation and budding and sporulation too. So complete explanation gives you the answer. Next, do all plants reproduce in the same way? Give examples. You know, some reproduce through the sexual process reproduction and others through the asexual reproduction, or some by budding or regeneration process, and it involves the grafting process, layering process in some of them. Next, see here the question is, Karthik saw a cucumber plant in a kitchen garden. He identified two types of flowers. Some flowers had a swollen structure behind them while some did not. He removed the flowers which did not have the swollen structure behind them, thinking that they are of no use. So, which flowers did he remove? He removed he identified the two types of flowers, isn't it? If swollen structure behind them, whilst he did not had some of them, he removed all the flowers which he did not have the swollen structure. Which flowers did he remove? He removed the male parts. What are the flowers which had a